Everyone's, complaining about the cost of ads going up on Facebook and Instagram, but here come these guys that have now dropped the cost by like 60, 70%. It's insane.
You drop like knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb.
Hey buddy, how's it going?
Good, how are you? I'm going to start a timer right now for 10 minutes. And Why don't you take 10 seconds and introduce yourself to the audience real quick?
I am Jay Myers. I'm one of the co-founders of 𝗏𝗏, and we build a lot of apps for Shopify, heavy in the subscription space, which is, of course, where I know Paul so dearly from.
And that's how we became absolute best friends.
Well, and when you gave me those socks, that really clinched the deal. And when we wore them on the same day. Yeah.
That is a way, I found that's a way to people's hearts is via socks.
It's like, who gives socks to people? Kids, wives, and Paul.
Kids, wives, and Paul. I'll take it.
Yeah.
So Jay, this podcast is What Are You Doing Right Now, where we take 10 minutes and just catch up on like what's going on in life. And you've got an abundance of things happening. So the first thing I want to dive into is a little bit of shift in your podcast. You have the Own Your Commerce podcast, but you have another one now, or are you shifting it? What's going on there?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's a new podcast. It's called Shopify 1%. Own Your Commerce kind of turned into this broad commerce related podcast, not specific on a specific platform. It was interesting. I was having lunch with a guy named Gil. He actually had an app for Shopify called Checkout Blocks. It ended up getting acquired by Shopify. He now works at Shopify. But one day I was having lunch with him last year at NRF, and he said, Jay, I love your podcast. I was one time driving across the country and I listened to it for like 10 hours straight and it kept me awake. But then it kind of changed a little bit. And then there was like a whole bunch of episodes about commerce tools or Magento or Salesforce or different things. And it got very broad. And I said, yeah, we were just trying to cover commerce in general. And he said like, yeah, a lot of that I felt didn't really like apply to me. And then, you know what I have this analogy for podcasts. It's like going to a restaurant. It's like why franchises work, because when you order something, you know what you're going to get. And if you turn on a podcast once and the host decides to do something totally different, like let's talk about something completely different today, you get burnt. It's like when you order food at a restaurant and it doesn't come out what you expect. It might be the last time you order that dish because you're afraid to, and you only have so much time. When I go to the gym, there's some podcasts I know that if I press play, I'm going to get a certain type of content. Mm-hmm. And I think, so Shopify 1% is only for Shopify stores, only Shopify people we interview. And it's very, very like tactical for Shopify merchants, no other platform, only for Shopify. So that's the difference.
I think that's super interesting and very smart, because you're right. Like if you're listening to something where you hear like episode after episode about Shopify, and then it spreads and you're talking about Magento, like somebody's going to tune out and not find as much interest in that. So have you found like a good audience with this one, and are you getting good feedback on it so far?
I am blown away the emails I've already got. I had I've had multiple people, but like within the first week, and podcasts, they take a little time to build traction and stuff, but the very first episode I did as a solo episode, which is called, if you go and you look, it's called like 10 questions to ask yourself before 2025 or something. I did it like the day before New Year's, and someone emailed me and said, I am literally listening to this right now and I am rejuvenated to run my store. I'm taking notes. I popped open my Shopify admin and I literally made the changes that you were talking about during the show. To me, I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted. If someone pops open their Shopify admin to make a change, then I did what I wanted to do. Right. So yeah, I mean, it's doing well, I would say. Like that's
like just that one piece of feedback alone. I mean, like when with Sub Summit, when we get that sort of feedback, somebody's like, I did this, I heard this at this session, it changed my business. I'm like, that's it. Like mission accomplished. That's all I want to do. So I have a reason why I do podcasting then. Obviously like you like getting that feedback. What's your primary purpose? Like, why do you do?
People don't know who I am. I grew up, I started an online store in 1998. I've been in e-commerce my whole life. I started we had a family business. We sold archery stuff. And anyways, I started selling the stuff online. I ran multiple e-commerce stores. In 2009, I moved one of them to Shopify. Then Shopify had this app store. So we started building apps, and then we did quite well with the apps. We became Shopify's largest partner. And then eventually the stores were a bit of a distraction. We had to say like, okay, are we building products? Or are we running stores? So we kept the stores for a while. And then eventually I sold the stores. And so I was no longer a store owner, but like my passion is running stores. And so my brother has a Shopify store, a bunch of my friends do. And I'm like on the weekends and the evenings, I'm helping them with their store. I'm logging in, I'm running setting up campaigns for them. I'm like, well, let's try this on your product page. What if we changed your images to like do this? And like, I just love it. And I missed it. I missed it so much. And I do think that I have some value to add with the experience of, we've had 800,000 stores use our apps. And so I talk to a lot. And so I am having fun doing it. I mean, people know me as one of the co-founders of Bold, but it's not a Bold podcast. It's me. It's like a passion thing, but I'm absolutely going to keep it going. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's like the same reasons that like, and I like how you're like, I have some knowledge, like you're a wealth of knowledge, Jay. Like it's unbelievable, like how many things you know. And I love how humble you are too. It's a Canadian in you. You Canadians are just,
we are not allowed to brag. We have to stay very humble.
Amazing. Well, and like, that's why, I do this. I like talking to people. Like, it's just inspiring and so much fun too. So that's awesome. Oh. So now you live in this world, this e-commerce world. You are up in the target of the United States right now, it seems, in Canada. I've brought out my crystal ball here, and I want you to look deep into this crystal ball. Tell me what you see. Tell me what you see in the future here of e-commerce and just kind of this craziness we're living in right now.
Wow, there's a lot there. I'm looking into that ball, man. I think right now it's probably one of the hardest times to actually see where things are going, because there's like the beginning of a lot of forks, right? Like there's I can't see the future now, Paul.
Like it's still there.
We're seeing AI shopping assistants becoming a thing. We're seeing like there's tools now that I can give what I want to AI. AI will shop, find 5 sites that sell the product, find the cheapest product. They'll even find out shipping rates and come back and it'll order. So like there's potential for me not to even interact with a store. So is e-commerce going all AI? Then there's social commerce. Like what's happening on TikTok is wild. Yeah. And I think it's just the beginning. It's really just the beginning, because I think right now there's creators on TikTok that are not even what you would call like professionals or agencies. Like I know there is some already, but like there's going to be full blown agencies with like rooms of studios with professionals doing live selling, and they're going to charge, like it's going to be like right now it's the early days and you can be a little messy around the edges, but really curious to see where that goes. And like I've always said, sometimes people say like, well, what's Shopify's biggest threat? Like another platform. I don't think Shopify really has a threat in another platform, but like social commerce, AI commerce, some of these things could be really interesting, right? And so man, where is it going? I think it's going to get closer and closer to connecting points of inspiration, like impulse, when people want to buy, to the purchase. If you wanted to, close your eyes and feel your way through this, like whenever something connects a buyer's intent with the ability to purchase and bridges that gap, that's something to keep a pulse on, to look at, right? Because that's potentially where it will go. I feel like for the first time in a long time, it's hard to say exactly because AI is moving so fast.
Yeah.
And it's like every couple of weeks there's new developments, then it's like, oh shoot, that could change the way we shop. Oh, that could change the way we shop. And kind of just really watching right now, to be honest.
Final kind of question for you is, do you think Shopify is starting to go too far in closing off their ecosystem? They do this with payments. I hear rumblings of like tax right now, and people aren't able to do as much with Avalara and stuff like that. Are they going to do that so then it's going to push people out to other platforms like TikTok, like other areas? Or is that good? Is that like the Apple ecosystem where everything's all in one? You don't have to worry about problems and things going wrong.
Yeah, it is a hot take. And we've definitely seen this. Shopify over the years has gone from, they've done it with fulfillment, they've done it with payments, they've done it with
subscriptions.
Subscriptions. They have native functionality. And my view on this has always been, so we live, at one point we had 36 apps. And so we've seen many of our apps, not copied, but like the functionality has been built into the platform. As an app developer on Shopify, there's 2 things. We have been extremely lucky and successful because of Shopify's success. And so one of the worst things for us would be that Shopify doesn't innovate and they don't grow, and then we don't grow, right? So like any app developer that complains of some functionality that Shopify built in is blind to the amazing horse that they have hitched their wagon to.
Yeah.
And so I'm not overly concerned. I always say, like, if you're building a flashlight app for an iPhone, you're probably going to get taken out. And
I remember those good old days.
the good old days, right? So and there's a lot of apps like that like plug holes in functionality, and just know that's fine. You can make make money for a period of time. But to the subscriptions question is, I don't think the fact that Apple has a native calendar is ever going to stop people from using other calendar apps.
Mm-hmm.
So same thing for like, there's different notes apps, there's a lot of tools, simple things like, I don't think I've ever actually downloaded a different calculator or a different flashlight. I just use the native ones, but I use Gmail. I don't use a number of Apple's native tools, right? And so subscriptions is something that Shopify did built in, but like it does the very, 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 very basic, which is actually kind of good for us, because then it makes it look like a platform that you can bring subscriptions onto. And then as you grow, there's
options.
Subscription experts that can help you grow. So Shopify is an expert at treading the line carefully as they grow and not bringing too much in and becoming too closed. It's going to happen more and more, but I think they're doing it in a way that as someone who's built a company on Shopify since 2012, like I'm personally not hurt or offended. I do see sometimes people go, oh, they built this in, now they built this in, because the bottom line is the market will correct itself. And if they do too much, people will not come onto it.
I know the market speaks. Yeah. We've talked about 𝗏𝗶 before, like just a brilliant mind, and Harley, they just run an amazing business. And so more power to them. And so Jay, like you and I could talk for hours and hours, but format of the podcast, 10 minutes, we're going to get in and out. So I learned today, AI is going to totally disrupt shopping. Just keep an eye on it. It's already done it. It's going to keep going. Shopify's here to stay. And, big question for you. You're coming back to Sub Summit this year, of course?
Absolutely. Just talked to Chris yesterday, actually. So I should actually mention this earlier. Like I think native apps will make a comeback.
Wow.
The data on how it affects shopping is insane. Now you can have a download-less native app experience. And so like, I actually wasn't even aware of this, but you can click, they're called app clips. They call them reactive clips, but essentially you can click on an ad or a link or anything, and it just opens up a native app on your phone without going through the app store. So there's zero friction, because that was always my friction. Like, oh, I got to go to the app store, I got to download it. Opens it instantly, and they're called app clips. They convert way better than a mobile site. But the beauty is, once someone opens an app clip, clicking on ad, you can send native push notifications for the next 24 hours. So they're seeing like 60-70% better conversion on an ad click. And so like everyone's, complaining about the cost of ads going up on Facebook and Instagram, but here come these guys that have now dropped the cost by like 60-70%. It's insane.
Look, Jay, you dropped like knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb. I'm hoping my editor in this, she puts like fire coming out of my hands right there.
Hold it right here. There we go.
Hold your hands. Yeah, hold your hands out.
There you go.
Fire.
Oh, fire.
That's awesome. All right, Jay, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you? What networks do you want them to find you on the social network thing?
I'm most active on LinkedIn. I guess, does that age me? I don't know, but I'm all over LinkedIn. LinkedIn's making a comeback.
It is.
But get on LinkedIn if you're not on LinkedIn. That's where I am. That's where the cool kids hang out.
That's where all the cool kids hang out. Me too. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time, especially working on my schedule today.
This was super fun.
Awesome. Jay, appreciate it, man.
I don't know how you do it, buddy.